This is an interesting process for making a copy of a record that has repeating sections where the key for the repeating section is actually the key in the main record itself, and the key for the main record and the key for the repeating sections are auto numbers, although the key into the repeating section, in this case for customer ID, is not of course an auto number. But in this particular case, we've got customer ID, which is an auto number into a MySQL table, and then the repeating section, the payment ID, is an auto number. So creating a copy of a record structured like this is interesting because it's a chicken and egg sort of thing. You can't make a repeating section copy, in effect, because you don't have a key. Because the main table, the parent table, is an auto number, so you don't have its key until you're finished its copy. But having said that, it's still entirely possible to do. So this UX represents the kind of the target UX. So you'd be seeing it in a grid or UX. You want to make a copy of a record, whether you know which record or not. It doesn't make any difference. In the latest one of the latest messages in this particular thread, it was suggested that he wants to pull a record from a drop-down list. So there's our drop-down containing all our current records. And so let's go and see how this looks actually. So we'll pop over here. We'll just run this. So here we are in our target UX. Let's pretend that we'd just come from UX or a grid where we said we wanted to copy a record. So we're presented with this blank UX and main parent area and a repeating section, child section. And you can have as many child sections as you want. It doesn't really matter. Um, Things would change if the key, the customer ID in this case, is if the key was different for each repeating section, but the theory for this whole thing is the same. So let's go and pick a record. So we've got this record now, and now what we're going to do is copy this record. So what's going to happen in effect is we're going to go and grab a copy, make a copy of the parent record first, and save that in code. And by doing that, we'll have the key to assign as the link into the child records. Payment ID is all auto number. Customer ID here is all auto number, but we need this number in order to link this table to get these two tables together. And so we'll go and create a copy. So there's you saw our main record being saved. We had a record ID of 114 that was created as an auto number, and then we took that number and then we created our repeating section and filled in our customer ID with the right linking key. And payment ID, these are all auto numbers as well. So let's go and have a look to see how we did this. We'll go into so we're in controls. Now I put this button here for copy just to make things like really clear, but of course this code could be placed on the change event of the select record dropdown. It doesn't matter. So we'll get in here. So we're first doing an AJAX callback to go and get the data that we want. Well, maybe I should back up just a little bit. The select record, just to show what that does. It just populates controls in UX with data from tables. That's all it does. There's nothing more than that. And the key that we're reading is from the drop-down. So that's all that's going on there. It's in our click event, and it's coming from a SQL table. There's that stuff. So regular stuff going on. Now our button to actually do the copy. So again, we're doing an AJAX callback to go and get some data. Now the nice thing about this is that we're not going back out to the tables at all for any of this. The theory is that we've got all the data we need sitting in front of us. We don't have to go back to the tables for it. We do have to go back to the server to make a call to get this done, but we don't have to query the tables or do anything like that. So our AJAX callback getData just does a couple of things. It sets a session variable called currentData equal to all the data that's been submitted that's on that screen. So here we are with all our data presented, and it's all in e.data submitted, every bit of data, all the repeating section, the child, the parent, everything's in there. So we're going to set all that data into a session variable called session.currentData. And then we're going to return a couple of things, some JavaScript. We're going to create a new record. That's the first thing we're going to do. And then we're going to do a little bit of a set timeout for another AJAX callback. And I think it's not set very much. Just gives us time for the new record to complete. Yeah, it's 100th of a second. So we create a new record, and then we run set parent data. So let's go and have a look at that. Set parent data is right down here. So what does set parent data do? We're passing it the session current data that we've already set, and that's in here. Set parent data. I thought we were setting it. Oh no, sorry, no, we're not. Sorry, we're just calling it. So we got set parent data. We're calling that. My controls is we're grabbing the session.current data. That's all our data, all our controls. So we're grabbing all the fields, just the fields, not the data, but just the fields from session.currentData. So that's all the controls that are here. So that's payment, all the payment ID, customer ID, and it's grabbing them in the format of an A5 instance for the repeating section. And then we're dimensioning a pointer variable, and then we're going into a loop for each control name in my controls. If it's not an array, which the repeating section is, because all we're doing right now is processing parent fields only. That's all we want to do, because this is set parent data. So if it's not an array, so the repeating section is an array, so we're not going to process that. If the control name isn't the drop-down control name, we don't want to process that. So everything else we want to process. If it's not an array, if it's not a repeating section as well. So not an array, not the drop-down, not a repeating section, and if the the customer ID, if that's the control we're dealing with, then just set it to null. Otherwise, set it to the value of the session current data. So that's what we're doing there. And that's all we're doing. That's the loop. And then we dimension another variable as a pointer. We turn our data that we've been collecting in this JPointer variable, which is all our data that we want to set. We do a var to JSON for that, and we assign it to a pointer variable. So it's our JSON set. So that's what we've got there. And then we dimension JSON text as a text variable. So we do a dialog object prepare, flag dialog clean is false, fire change events is true. That probably should be false, but it depends on what you're doing. We populate our dialog with what we want, and then we submit it in order to save that record for the parent. And then we do another set timeout, again for 100th of a second, in order to set the child data. And then we do a replace variables in the string, because here we've got the string p.js set. So that's our data for populating the UX. So we do a replace variables in the string for JS text and the value of p. So that's p.js set. So we're replacing the real value into our string, so that's good. And then we send it back out. So all this is now executed. Very good. And that's it. So the very last thing that happens is the set child data gets called. So let's go see what we do here. Once again, we grab all the properties, the controls, the control names only, not the data, just the control names from our session.curData variable. So now we've got that. The link ID, because remember that we've saved that parent record now on screen, we've saved it with this submit statement that's up here. So now we've got our linking key. So e.data submitted customer ID is our linking key. So my link ID is equal to that. That's great. Color choices, I have no idea what that is. Probably nothing. So now we go into a loop again. So we don't want to process any arrays that are in the data. We're not interested in the arrays. We're not interested in the select statement. We are interested in the A5 instance stuff because that's our repeating section. So so we're going to process all the A5 instance stuff. So if we're dealing with the payment ID, then we're not going to do anything because it's an auto number. Else, this is the linking value. If the control we're dealing with is the customer ID, then set the customer ID equal to the link ID. Very cool. If it's not a payment ID or a customer ID, remember we're only processing repeating section stuff, then set it to the actual value of the data that we've got coming in. And that's it. Once again, we come down here and dimension a pointer variable. Our rows, our repeating section rows, is equal to, that's the number of rows, because we have to set the number of rows that we're dealing with, is equal to e.repeating section info 1.row count. So that's our one is the first container. There's only one container here for repeating section, and that's what we're dealing with, just the number 1 there. If there was 2, 3, you'd have to put those in as well, but in this case we've just got the row count. P.js set is equal to var to JSON, and our JSON J pointer variable, which we've set up with all our data up here. JS text, once again, set repeating section row count. So we can do that. We're doing that to p.rows. We set that in there. We do an object prepare, set a couple of flags, do a populate with our p.js set. So there's p.js set, and there's our p.rows. And then we do a submit. So that's all sitting in our text. So here we do a replace variables in the string for JS text. We're replacing all our p variables, which are here, into these areas here, which is great. Where's the other one there? And then we send it back out so all this stuff gets run. And that's it. So if we actually go through a live preview of this, let's go and pick and copy. So here we are in get data. Very, very straightforward stuff. Actually, I want to do that one more time. Copy. I'm just going to step through that so you can see our session dot curdata. There's all our data. It's all in there. Beautiful. It's exactly what we want. There's our repeating section stuff. There's an example of an array that we don't want to process in customer ID. We don't need that. So that's an array that I don't want to process. So we're going to send this out. We're going to run it. And now we're into set parent data. So we've gone through and we've set all our parent data up. And if we were to look at the value of J, we'd say all our parent data has been set. That's cool. And then we're going to step through this stuff, and we'll actually run it. And here we are in set children, and we've already set all our children. And once again, we still have J on the screen, but that's what that looks like. And then we just run that and all is good. So thanks for watching.